What is up, y'all? This is Marshall Lee, and also known as Plex, and Upright for the Beat Brothers YouTube channel. How you guys doing? How are
Yo,
you
what up? What up, everybody? How's it going?
Pretty good. Um, yeah, man. I guess,
Episode two. Episode two.
yeah,
Episode two. Can we celebrate that for a minute? I mean,
yeah.
we made it to number
So,
two.
woo!
Yeah.
Let's
Whoop.
do it.
Yeah.
Um, that's cool, man. So, where can people find you, man?
Upright. Well, UPR1 GHT at Instagram. So it's upright, just replaced with the number one. That's pretty much where I'm at. Full time, 100%, full throttle. IG. That's where you'll find me on social media. That's it. That's the only. That's
Nice.
the only place, really. Yeah.
Nice. Well, there is a Twitter. I noticed because when I tag you when I post on there, but yeah, I'm the same way though. I like mostly just on Instagram as
Yeah.
at Marsh Makes. So
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way we can put our Instagram things on here too. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, when where your name is, you could just write like at Upright and the
Oh,
thing.
right. Okay. Right. Gotcha.
You
Gotcha.
could do. I should do it too. That's a good
Okay.
idea.
Would I do that on my end? Is that something I have to do on my end?
Yep, you can do it under brand, I think, or I don't know. You can definitely do it though yourself. So
Okay. Gotcha. 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 Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
So
All right. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Upright UPR1 GHT. Upright with a one. And you're at
awesome.
Marsh Makes,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Because you make all kind of stuff, man. You don't just make music. You make art. You got these panels that you're getting ready to do. Oh, should I not have said anything?
That's okay. We'll let the little hint be there. Just sit there and
Okay.
then see what happens.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, man, I make a bunch of different stuff, but I'm definitely focusing on music these days. And it's been a really
Right.
good, interesting journey. I just
Yeah. Yeah. For
recently,
sure.
as you know, I just recently acquired some modular
Yeah. Yes, sir.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, so
So
real quick, how are you feeling about it so far? How are you feeling? Like, give me your true thoughts on modular. Like, this is a
yeah,
guy that makes straight boom bap. Like, well, I shouldn't say you make straight boom bap. You're a man of multi genre talents, but boom bap is at the core. So how are you feeling about the modular so far? So far.
well, so far it has been a challenge and a learning experience, but I have enjoyed it. Yesterday I was playing with a chaos generator on the disc thing, which was pretty cool and made some crazy sounds.
Oh,
It's
dope.
definitely a big learning curve, but I see the potential in it, and I'm like super excited still. I've been learning a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. What real quick? What's that chaos generator about? What's that all about?
Well, I heard about it from man, I wish I could remember the guy's name. He's on Instagram. But I heard it from somebody on Instagram, and I messaged him, and I'm like, what is a chaos generator? And he's like, well, it's under M8 in the new update for the disk thing, and
Uh,
it's basically it's I think it's
mhm.
like an LFO maybe, or maybe like a sample and
Oh,
type thing, but
okay.
it modulates things in a chaotic way.
Got you. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, man. I need to get a disc thing, man. I really do. Like, just you having one lately has made me think, man, I need to grab one, man. I really do. I need to grab a
Well,
disc thing.
I'm pretty, like I said, we've had all these discussions this week on how it's been a little frustrating for me.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I do like that I have almost anything at my disposal if I need it, because of it, so
yeah,
it's really
true. Yep. Yeah,
so. So
yeah.
anyway, I got more coming, more on the way, and we'll see what that yields and stuff. But I changed my studio up around, like I was talking to you, and it just that makes me feel like better because I have like a standing modular setup now, and I don't know, something about standing makes me be able to work better and less. I feel less like uh overwhelmed or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So you when you say standing, you mean you actually standing up making music?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I put
Wow.
the desk up really high, because I have like this
Hmm.
art desk that I've had since I was like, in elementary school, and
Hmm.
it adjusts up and down, so I put it like as far up as you can possibly get it. So
Yeah, I have a adjustable desk too, so I know what you mean. Yeah, sometimes I like it a little high too. Yep. But man,
totally.
standing making beats. Wow. Okay. That's
Well, I
pretty
can
dope.
sit or stand. I'm at the chair now. I got the keyboard, and I have my the iPad is on a stand that I can adjust up and down, so I can kind of
Okay.
do that
Dope.
more. So if I
Dope.
need to sit, I can sit. Maybe I need to
Dope.
get one of those fancy stools like you and Will.
Yeah, the stools. It's really it's very dope, man. I love this stool. It's adjustable, and the weird thing about it is that it's it's like a peg leg, so you can move all around. Like it doesn't have a solid footing. It's just a round bottom, so you can like move all around, but it's rubber, so it doesn't slip, right? And it's weird. I've never had anything like this, but it's really dope. I love it. Yeah, I love this. I love this thing. So I can like lean forward, I can lean in, and then I can lean back, and it's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so just want to say shout out to anybody watching, and when we got people on Instagram live too, and I think Twitter live too. So, hello to everybody out there. If you have any questions, feel free to come by and hang out. So speaking about like our setups and how we do this stuff, man. I wanted to talk about our approaches and our workflow and everything. What do you think? Like, where where did you kind of start when you first started making beats? Like, what was your approach, and do you think it's changed since then?
Hmm. Man, my first approach initially was through a program called Music Generator on the PlayStation, on the PlayStation back in the day. So I was using a controller, game controller to make beats. Okay, so um, I think initially, like that, I didn't feel hindered. I didn't feel like I just felt like I could hit the X button and do it, make a kick, and then hit the circle button and make a snare, and it was and it felt like I was, I guess like anything like a playing an MPC or whatever, and I think today, like if I had to transition that over to today, I think the easiest entry point to making beats today would be like an iPad or a iPhone, right?
Yeah,
And your screen, you're just kind of tapping the screen with these virtual pads to make beats. And I feel like if that's your entry to making beats, I think that's dope.
yeah, I
Like yeah,
definitely did.
yeah.
How old were you when you had that?
I think I was like maybe 20, 20.
20. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that.
20,
Yeah,
20 was yeah.
that's totally cool. It looks like there's a little bit of a lag, but yeah, man, like I think it's a perfectly fine way to do it. I think any way to enter is a good way to enter into doing that. Now, when you were doing that, did you kind of it seems like you were pretty satisfied with that at the time. Did you feel like you wanted to try to sample and stuff too, or like what kind of where did you go from there?
At the time I was I was really I was playing in a band, and the beats were just kind of a way to supplement what I wasn't doing when I wasn't with the band. You know what I mean? So it was just like making beats. to play, guitar away from the band. So I was really fresh. I didn't know what I was doing. It was, man, I can't even really tell you. Like it was just like a totally. When I look back on that experience, it was like I had nobody to tell me anything. I didn't have anybody to show me what to do. I was just like, man, let me just experience this on my own without anyone to kind of guide me. So when I look back on that, it was a really raw experience. Like it's like as green as you can get. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's cool, man.
yeah,
I mean, we've all had those green times, I would say for sure.
yeah.
Um, so when did you kind of not stop doing the band thing, and when did you start like looking into other ways to make beats and stuff?
That didn't happen until probably about 15 years later.
Mhm.
Then I started realizing that I wanted to actually produce music on my own. Um, and that's when I got into the MPC and like Cakewalk. Cakewalk was like, well, really, Acid Pro was my first like foray into audio on the computer. Um, and but then I transitioned into Cakewalk and all that. But let me flip the question back on you, man. Where did you start? Like, what are the initial beginnings for Plex? Like, where did that all start?
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of talked about some of this on the last one, but we're hitting a different approach too. We're going to get into some interesting things. Um,
Yeah.
so, where I basically started was, in high school. Hip hop. It was the '90s. It was like '95, '96, and I was deeply entrenched in everything hip hop, and so were my buddies. And there was an electronic music class, and I found out that they had like drum machines and samplers, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes, please, let's do this, because I needed beats to rap, so that
Right.
was really the whole thing. And so I learned on some old like keyboard samplers. I can't even remember what program that we sometimes used, but and then there was like some like Roland drum machines with like stock sounds that to me were cheesy. And I had like a 4-track recorder. There was a bunch of 4-track recorders there in class and stuff. And, we were just recording on tapes and, putting the beat or the drums on one track and putting playing the sample, like looping, like there was no like loop
Are
or
we are we
like,
talking are we talking vinyl? Are we talking vinyl or
um,
as far as the loop, like
I
the
think
melody?
that I don't think I was using vinyl to sample, but I was sampling from like probably tapes and maybe CDs. And I would put
Mm.
it into there was a keyboard sampler. I don't even know what it was. And I didn't know how to like put like I would play like from one of these little drum boxes. I'd play that into one track and record it, and then I'd go over to the next track and I'd sit there for the whole beat pressing the sample over and over so I could loop it. And then on the other track we'd put like vocals, and then on the other track we'd put like backup vocals, and if we needed another track we had to bounce it. So like it
Man,
was
that's crazy. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it is
the funny thing about those early days for me, man, and I know we're moving on to, we're going to expand this topic, but the funny thing about those early days for me is that I looking back, I didn't know what I was doing. Like
Yeah,
it just felt like I had no idea what I was doing. It's weird. Yeah.
I know, right? Like you don't know, like I like because I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm like, I used to just press the sample. Like I didn't realize I forgot. And now you're talking about vinyl, and I'm like, I don't think I even touched vinyl yet at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
yeah, there's
crazy.
all kinds of approaches. And then like I
Yeah.
said, like I think with my first track, we needed more tracks. So I think I bounced the drums, and there's no mixing process afterwards because
Right.
all these, so like I bounced the drums and the sample to one track so that I could fit another track so that my teacher could play a trumpet on it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we did the
Wow.
vocals. So
So the teacher actually came in and brought some live trumpet.
yeah, it's actually,
Oh,
he
that's
was
sick.
pretty good at it,
Oh, that's
So
sick. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Yeah.
yeah, totally. It was a fun, interesting experience, and I learned a lot, but
Right.
yeah, the way I make beats, the way I made beats after that, and even the way I'm making beats now is a whole new world.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's dope.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess from there, it evolved into I finally was able to get, the Acid program, which it was like a cheap demo version at first. Eventually, I got Acid Pro when I was in the military, and I got some extra money, so I got like Acid Pro, which is like still like, you know, that I don't think Pro Tools even had come out just yet at that point. I don't know, but like that was all I knew. Um,
Yeah.
and that was a whole new world. That was like, I didn't have to press the sample anymore. Like I could just copy paste
Right.
it. So
Yeah. 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 Yep.
it's pretty interesting. What was like your kind of evolution like? Did like I don't know, like what brought you to kind of to where you are now, I guess, like
Hmm.
workflow.
You mean workflow wise?
Yeah, and like
Man, this is.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, just with workflow and like equipment and stuff.
Oh, well, workflow wise, it's been kind of a long journey. I went through initially I was messing with Cakewalk and a Dr. Rhythm, what is that? 880 or 808? 880, I think. It's Dr. Rhythm.
Hmm.
And man, I remember being on MPC forums just because I knew sampling was a major part of hip hop. So I would be on MPC forums, and I'd be like talking to the cats on there, and they'd be like, "Oh man, you got this Dr. Rhythm," and they'd be like, "Ah, you're like a buster," They'd be like, "Why are you, you're like a loser." Like, I mean, I remember really literally getting lots of negative vibes from people, and I was like, man, is this Dr. Rhythm? Like, is this not what I should have or what? Like, I liked it at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't know,
Yeah.
but, but
I
as
don't
I,
think it's
as,
even I don't think it's even a bad piece of equipment. That's weird that they were like that. But
yeah,
they probably wanted the MPC. They're like, you gotta have an MPC or something.
yeah. And I think, at the time it's just like people have a certain, like what they're hearing, you know, Pete Rock and this is at the time, like Pete Rock and, sampling your drums was heavy,
Yeah.
so drum machines weren't like cool, the sound of a drum machine wasn't dope. Now I know that, whatever you use, like, it's just all about how you use it. You know what I mean? It's not about, that what you use creates your own character. You know what I mean? It creates the character that you're bringing to the masses or whatever. So, but yeah, so cats would give me a lot of flack for having this Dr. Rhythm drum machine, and then I was like, oh man, maybe I need to switch it up. So I got an MPC, and that was like the start of like really progressing into what I have now. So from the MPC, I moved from the MPC. That was for years. I used the MPC for years. Then I transitioned into Reason, where I had a lot of hardware. I had I had a bunch of hardware synthesizers and stuff, and then I sold all that stuff off, and then I went strictly in the box, straight Reason, and and from there I went to Ableton, and then this is where I'm at now. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Interesting. So you definitely went, from kind of an interesting route, because you kind of started with software in a way, but you were also doing
Yeah.
live music, because video games are basically software. But then, you went into the MPC, and then you went back into kind of software, and but you had the gear too. So one thing I think it's interesting, that I know about your approach that's changed, is you were more sample heavy at one point, and then now where you don't really do samples so much, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yep. I just feel like samples. There's a couple things about samples. I think there's a couple key points. One, when I'm sampling something, and like vinyl, when I had, man, 4,000 records at one point, 4,000 vinyl
Mhm.
records here that I just sold, probably like a year and a half ago. But I had 4,000 vinyl records, and you put a record on the turntable and you go through the record, and you're trying to find something to sample, and it sucks because at that moment you're wanting to make music, but you're trying to listen to music to find something to make music. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, you're going through all these, you're going through track by track through a record. And you're like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's not it. And inside, internally, you're craving to make a beat, but
Mhm.
yet you can't find anything to make a beat. So this is one of the reasons why I stopped sampling music. So I'm going through this record, and I'm like, man, I can't find anything to make music. Flip it over, man, still can't find anything, and I'm frustrated. So that was one of the reasons why I stopped sampling. And there's a few reasons, but um, when I want to make music, I want to make music. I don't want to listen to music. I don't want to try to find music. I don't want
Mhm.
someone else's what they're playing on a record. I don't want that to, um, you know, dictate what I'm making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to be able to just get into the groove and do what I do my thing. Like I want to make music. I don't want to listen. I don't want to, none of that. I wanted to cut all that out. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my experience with vinyl, pretty much. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting because, I've had an interesting relationship with sampling as well, and that versus playing keyboard sounds or whatever, like some kind of instrument, and you know part of it is I really like the sound of samples. That's just
Hmm.
I've heard so many different kind of beats, and sometimes I'll go for a while and be listening to a bunch of stuff and it doesn't really have
Hmm.
samples, and then I'll hear something with a sample and I'm like, oh man, but I love that
Yeah.
sound. Like,
Yeah.
so there's
Yeah.
that, but I get what you're
Right.
saying. Like,
Hmm.
searching and digging, and it takes forever to finally make something. And then you can spend a lot of time sitting there chopping the thing up, and you start working on it and you're like, I don't really like the sample. Like, it's probably not going to work out. And so now you got to
Right.
go through the whole process again, which, for me, my relationship with that, I was exactly where you're at, or
Hmm.
where you were at that point. And
Right.
now I'm in a different place, where I generate my own samples, and that's really fun and interesting and exciting. But when I make a beat, I still, even if I generate the sounds myself, I still approach it like I'm sampling, and I chop it up and stuff, because I just like that sound and the way that goes. But then
Got you.
also, um, I don't really I'm not so worried about the actual sample anymore. Like, I pretty much will take any sample. I was actually thinking about
Mm.
this today. Like, I almost want to make a video on I want to make a whole beat with one kick. And I think it's very much possible. Now that I'm learning about how modular works and how sound
uh,
design works, and stuff
yeah.
like that, because I'll sit there now, like last night is a perfect example. I was sitting there with my phone, and I noticed I had Koala on and I was recording from the modular because I was having a hard time figuring out how to record again. And then when I was done, I noticed that there was some feedback coming into Koala. So I was like, that sounds kind of
Hmm.
cool. So I like recorded the feedback, and then I took that
Oh man.
feedback, put an effect on it, and recorded that. And then I put that in another effect on that. So now I have like 7 different sounds of feedback that
Oh,
have
dope.
different characters and stuff like that. And I
Wow. Wow.
can
Wow.
easily like make a beat out of that. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
how to do that
Yeah.
with a kick.
Man, that's dope. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That kind of. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's all right. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I just think it's interesting, like the kind of it's like how like what you have available evolves and changes, but then also your mindset changes as well.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of the important part. Like right now, I'm learning about modular, and it's such a journey because it's a whole different way of thinking about sound. One thing that I learned today is like the when you sit down with a synthesizer to make music, sometimes there are some of the modular things, there's LFOs and there's oscillators and things like that, but it's still kind of all there in one package. And the thing is when you press a note on a keyboard, it's already kind of there, but when you're using modular, you're creating the press, like you're creating what happens
Hmm.
when you press that note, like where does the
Yeah.
sound come from, what is the shape of the sound when you press that note, and then like what else happen, like you create, like if I do that on a regular synth, I can just press the mod wheel and it'll do something. I have to create
Right.
what that will do in modular first
Absolutely,
before.
absolutely,
you
man.
know?
You know what? That's a really good point, man. That is a really good point. I think when you're talking like standard traditional synthesis, the mod wheel, you roll the mod wheel and it just does what it does. Like you don't have to like think about it. It's less of a thought process. But in modular, you have to straight pat. Or you have to say, okay, I want to modulate this filter, the cutoff filter. So I need to patch this LFO into the filter. And then it's more of like a hands-on. You're getting your hands in there.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's like
That's really, yeah.
not only are you making your own samples with instruments, that's when I was approaching modular, I'm like, that's what I can do. You're not only making the samples with with the instrument, you're making the instrument first. Like
It's
you have to
true. Yeah,
actually
yeah,
create
yeah,
the
yeah.
instrument with modular. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. That is crazy. It is. Thinking about it like that. Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah.
how, speaking about that, how has modular, because that was introduced not right away for you, like how did that change your workflow and approach when it came to making beats?
Well, first I moved from sampling to synthesizer. So, when you have a synthesizer in front of you as a hip hop cat, like when you put a synthesizer, okay. So for me, going from you know straight sampling to a synthesis, well, sampling. Oh, let me back up. Okay, so hip hop, guitar, sampling, trying to make sample based music, okay, and then moving to a synthesizer. It's like, man, what are all these knobs? What does this do? You know what I'm saying? And you don't know what you have in front of you. So my first thing was like, man, I want to learn what every single knob on here does. I want to learn how to make sounds. And I started with just a straight, synthesizer. Really, a lot of stuff on the iPad is where I really started, because that stuff's cheap. You can get a synth for $5, and
Totally.
I just started learning what synthesis was, and from there it just exploded. I went from, buying a $5 iPad app to like just buying every synth I could, and then in the DAW, I would I basically just start making just synthesis only beats, no
Mm.
samples. I just wanted all synths. I just wanted to be able to express myself through the synthesizer, because I knew like you could do it. There's so much power there. There's so much you can do. So
Mm.
so that's what kind of pulled me away from samples. Just being able to dive into a synthesizer and let the synthesizer like just open just the floodgates.
Yeah.
And then from there it was modular.
It's interesting that because I feel like I had the similar experience, but went the totally opposite route. Um, because I got, introduced to Reason at one point. Like you said, you
Yep.
used Reason. And that was really cool because you have like virtual instruments in there, and it looks like you
Yep.
have like a studio of all different kind of instruments. And so that was the first time I really was introduced to being able to play with synthesizers. And I had an idea of what synthesizers were, but I didn't really know. And so, but my first thing when I saw that, I was like, this is really cool that you could do all this stuff. I don't really get why when I press this button it does this, but like it's cool that you can change the sound like that. And my first instinct was, how could I connect a sampler to this? Like,
Oh
so I
wow. Okay.
really
Okay.
wanted to play with
Yeah.
samples. And there
Yeah.
are kind of ways to do that, even in Reason, but
Yeah. There are. Yep. For sure.
it wasn't as apparent to me. And I didn't
Hmm.
really understand it, at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to learn. When it comes to just like synthesis techniques, like ADSRs, and like I had no idea what an ADSR was even in a sampler before I started messing
mm,
with synthesis. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what that was. That was like foreign to me, even on a sampler. But then once I started getting into synthesis, ADSR, I was like, oh, okay, I can make my sound like super quick. I can make my sound super quick by, you know, turning down the release and the decay. I can make a really snappy, sound, or I can make it long. When I press a note, it just rings out forever. And those concepts translate over even into samplers, because, samplers have ADSR. They have different aspects from synthesis. So it's crazy that I feel like looking back on like my time, even with samplers, like I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing, which is fine. You got to learn, you got to start somewhere. But, and that didn't even matter to me. It didn't matter to me that I didn't know what those things meant. I was just making music, and it was good.
So when you were making music, back then, were you like, okay, this is the tool I have right here. I'm gonna play with it, and there's gonna be a beat's gonna come out of it, and then when you were done, you were satisfied? Or did you make your thing and be like, this isn't really what I want to make. I want to make something different. Like, to me, that was my process. Like, I'm like, I like playing with this, but I'm trying to get to here, and I don't know how to
Mm,
get there with what I have. You
mm.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I never really thought like I'm trying to get here that I can't get there. To me, it was just a creative process. I let the machines dictate what I was doing. And when it
Yeah.
sounded dope, I was like, man, this sounds dope. This is what I want to make.
That's
you know,
really cool. Like,
yeah.
that's interesting. I didn't approach it that way before, and now it's funny because now I'm like, I kind of do approach it that way. Like, it's all about exploration. And, I came up with this kind of little mini philosophy, and it's more of a personal thing because not everybody feels the same way. But I even put it on my wall. It says, exploration plus experimentation minus purpose equals art.
Wait,
And
wait. Okay, exploration.
yeah,
Let me slow that down. Exploration plus.
plus experimentation
Exploration plus experimentation. Okay.
minus purpose.
Minus purpose. So I have no purpose. There's no goal here, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Equals art.
Mm. Nice. Okay.
So, but not everybody would agree with that, because some people are very, and it, even to me, it's a little weird, because I've always felt like I wanted to do things with a purpose, but
So in other words, there's a goal. You feel like you feel like you've always had a goal in mind, but this kind of shoots that out the window, right?
yeah, because I guess what I feel like was happening is the goal, the purpose was kind of tripping me up. If I couldn't get to where I had in my mind that I wanted to go, then I felt like I failed, Whereas this new approach is like, just have fun playing, exploring, experimenting, and what comes of it will be interesting. It
There
might
you
not
go.
be exactly what you intended, but
Right.
it's going to be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the creative process. It's like, I think a lot of times we get caught up in maybe wanting, um, and this is probably a whole nother topic, but just wanting what we make to appeal to others,
Yeah.
rather than ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's actually, yeah, that's a really actually important part, I think, to your workflow and your approach is like, and I think, what is the part, like, who is the intended end, user, and,
Mm,
for a long time, I originally made beats so I could have something to rap on. But I think what was happening is I was shooting myself in the foot, because I actually found a bunch of tapes of my old beats and that I've been listening to, and they're not very rappable. Like, they're me just trying to make cool beats, but they're like,
yeah.
it's hard to rap to them. So,
Yeah.
but not only that, but sometimes I've been in the world of like, okay, maybe I can sell beats or something. So I need to make beats that rappers will like. But then I'm like, I don't
Mm.
know if I like the beats that rappers will like.
You know
So,
what? Yeah, we got to do a show on, who are you making music for? Are you trying to appeal to the masses? Are you trying to appeal to a certain group? Are you even trying to get people to listen to your music? What's your goal?
yeah,
That whole like motivation on what you're doing is super important. It's super important. And I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer there.
yeah,
But it's what brings you joy. Like if I sit down here and I make a beat and I'm trying to get like the world to listen to me, that's bringing me some kind of joy, right? That's bringing me some
mhm,
kind of joy. um, but at the same time, if I'm sitting here making music for myself, like if I'm trying to really express myself creatively, um, that brings me joy as well. There's two. It's like the spectrum is huge,
mhm,
of why you would even make music. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it's funny, man, because the guy that's sitting in here just doing a bunch of nonsense, that makes no sense to anybody, but he's having a great time. Um, compared to the guy that is like just trying to like make the something that is just like Grammy winning, like just this amazing track. There's a complete difference there, and man, I'm not sure which is the right which is the right approach, because the person that's super creative may just come across something to the masses that is just like, man, like wow, this is just mind blowing. This is great. Like we love it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's just crazy. Yeah.
Well, there are people out there who, try to make hits.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
some of them are successful, some of them aren't. But I feel like
Mm.
a lot of the people who are successful in it, I think they generally kind of find themselves there almost accidentally, and then they just
Mm,
keep doing what made it work, you know? Because to me, like, I
mm,
get more satisfying results when I'm just playing and experimenting
yes.
to play,
Yep.
and I'm starting to
Yeah.
come up with results that I wanted before, but I was trying to control it too much, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't coming out loose. Like, sometimes I actually listen to people's beats and I'm like, it feels a little too controlled. It's not, there's no
Mm,
like love or heart in this, you know?
mm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that's another topic we gotta dive in on that, man. I feel like there's something there, But
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have to go deep into this topic, but I am curious, like, have you ever made beats specifically with it in mind where you wanted to make it for people to rap on, or did you just kind of make them and people wanted to rap on them?
I've oh man, it's a crazy thing. Like I've sat down as a beat maker, music producer, whatever. You know, I've sat down and I've thought, man, I want to make something that these cats will love. I want to make something that these cats will want to spit on. And
Mm,
it and realistically, to me, it feels like it's hindering me from
mm,
from being who I want to be. Like I'm confined to this box of trying to make something that will appeal or please someone else. And um, yeah, it just doesn't feel natural. But I have done it. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. What about yourself?
Oh yeah, I've definitely, I mean, I was trying to make beats. I mean, the thing is too is the kind of music I like to make isn't the kind of music that gets the big bucks and is super you know, popular, like I don't really have any desire to make trap beats, but that's the ones that are
Yeah.
probably
So
selling
so
right now.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. So if somebody said, "Hey, I want you to man make something I can spit on, make something I want you to make something hot." Do you feel like that's limiting or do you feel like you can express yourself?
Um, it's hard to say because being an MC as well, like you know, I know that feeling, and so, like, I would just try to make something that I would run a rap on, um, but, yeah, I don't know. That isn't so much of a limit or make it it doesn't make it worse, but, like, what does is me trying to think I wanna create a business out of this. Not
Hmm.
like we're doing right now, I think doesn't have that feeling, but, like, doing like before there were times where I was like, okay, I got to make, so many number of beats and they have to be appealing. And I literally tried to make like, stuff that would be hit the mainstream a little bit more, just because, but there was no soul in it and it really didn't hit that mark. And so that was very limiting and I didn't like doing that. And that's why I didn't do it for very long, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like for me the most restrictive feeling is trying to make something that's going to appeal to somebody else. I don't like that feeling. I actually hate it.
mm,
I hate wanting to impress someone else. I just want to do what I do creatively. And if you like it, you like it. If you want to mess with it, you mess with it. If you don't, then I don't care. At the end of the day, like for me, making music is all about like, just expressing myself and feeling good about who I am. It's not about like trying to cater to somebody else. I definitely like I don't make a living off music, and I know there are people that do. So in all fairness to them, like someone that's that has to do that, I understand that. I get it. Or even someone that aspires to want to make music that appeals to other people so that you can make a living. I totally get that. But for me, like I prefer to just be creative. Like I'm not trying to like live off of making music. The creative aspect of it is what makes it fun for me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I see that in your stuff. Like I've never really felt like you were trying to kind of, do what I tried to do with almost building a business off of making beats and stuff. Um, and I think it's kind of shown, that you're kind of more focused on the actual creative part of it. What about sharing? Like we don't always necessarily need to make money off of it, but like, do you feel a need or a desire to share, or do you even almost feel like you don't even want to share it?
I like to share on Instagram. I haven't really done like a full album or share, like uploaded something on Bandcamp or something like that. I haven't done that yet. I've done a couple projects on Bandcamp with other people, but I haven't done a full project. So sharing for me is just in the moment. Really, it comes down to like IG. Like I just, throw something up on IG to kind of show people, hey, this is what I was doing. I was really feeling it at the moment. Boom, here it is. So that's what sharing is for me. Yeah.
Do you have do you ever and by the way, I don't know if there's something with paper or something. It sounds like you're crinkling paper a little bit or something there. Like
Okay. Yeah.
it's a little bit loud in the mic.
Oh man. Okay. My bad.
Just so you know. But the so sharing, like, I don't know, like, do you have like do you have a desire to like create like an album worth of stuff, or is that not even something you think about too much? Or
Yeah, I do. I just feel like I'm really hard on myself. So I want to make sure like there's several, like I got my ducks in a row, if you will. So
Mhm.
just mixing like my drum work, my melody work, all that stuff. I want it to really be, kind of dialed in. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Mm,
Just want to make sure everything, I feel like I'm proficient in what I'm doing, at least to um, my standards.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. So I think kind of back on the approaches thing too. I mean, this stuff deals with approaches as well because it's what's behind the approach. But you've moved into a very and you kind of started off this way, but you moved back into like a very melodic type of way of approaching making beats, which is traditionally in hip hop, the melody, if there's melody, it's in the sample, and sometimes there's not much melody. It's more just sound effects and a really hard beat. But you
Yeah.
do definitely bring that like boom bap dope like beat and stuff. But melody is really important to your approach these days.
Yeah, and it's so weird, man. It's crazy because I did I made sample based music for a lot of years, and during that whole like time frame, I had a basic understanding of what I wanted to do as far as melody. I could lay a bass line down, or I could try to. So now evolving from there, where I'm at now, it's like I really realized I didn't really have a really understanding of music theory at all. Like, well, I did, but not to the level that where I can really lay down something on anything. You know, and that's where I'm at now. I just want to be able to fully express myself and fully contain the ideas that I want people to hear and feel good about it.
Mm,
I don't want a sample to dictate to hold me back. You know what I mean? So, and I
yeah.
may get back into sampling. I may get back into sampling. I may get back to a point where I feel like like chopping up stuff and doing my thing over other people's music is what I want to do. But right now, I just want to really get a good understanding of melody and harmony and be able to like just grasp that the concepts there. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the journey I'm on too when it comes to the modular stuff, because it's there's a similar amount of learning that goes into each of those things. and so it's like I'm just trying to wrap my head around the thing,
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
but I feel like, and it's funny though, even though like, we're both moving into less sampling of, vinyl music or something like that, we both still kind of approach our beats in a sample based way still, because we kind of, I think yours is a little bit more playing, but you do chop up your guitars and stuff, right?
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still definitely approaching things from a hip hop perspective. Like that, the hip hop roots, that's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? That's not going anywhere. Yeah. So all that chopping breaks, even the sound of a break record is still, I feel like somewhere in my DNA. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, that's not going anywhere. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would you say is like doing what you do, like with your guitars and stuff? Like I know from all the conversations, like you are into just playing the guitar, like that's your thing. And how do you bring, because that's not necessarily like something that is typical in hip hop. There's some people who do it, look at Wyclef. He's all about the instrumentation, and some other people,
Mhm.
the Roots and, Questlove, things like that. But like, how do you, like, where does the hip hop part come in? Like what part, when you're making a beat, what part is like, okay, this is how I make it boom bappy,
So the first thing is the tempo. The tempo is definitely boom bap. So from like 80 to 95 is where I'm generally kind of flexing at. And then just how I play the drums, the snare is more forward than even the melody. The snare is going to be louder than anything else. It's going to like pretty much dominate the mix. As far as like when you hear it, you're not, the snare is there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so that's part of it. And just the swing and the feel of the rhythm. And that's a great question, man. And I would ask you like the same thing, like going into modular, like how does that transition to hip hop for you? Like what makes the modular hip hop? How can you bring the modular into hip hop? That's a great question.
Yeah, and there is a challenge, I think, because and this is stuff we've talked about, but like, you know, like you said, I feel like drums is it's like hip hop just somehow it revolves around. That's why we call it boom bap. Like it does revolve
Yes.
on that kick and that snare.
Yep. Yep.
And so, that's what's kind of really big. So like, you have to, I think that that's the problem. Like with modular, typically with modular, you know, we've talked
Mm.
about, you get that like boop boop beep boop boop
Come
boop
on,
beep.
preach it, preach it.
You get that
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, for sure,
that
for
just
sure.
blocked sound,
Yeah,
and every note is played, and that's
right.
like you said to me, this is just people demoing these certain things so they can show you how it works. It's not necessarily always like that. But then you also hear a lot of stuff that's like kind of on the ambient side of things. Nothing wrong with ambient if that's what
Sure,
you're into.
sure.
um, but typically, that's not really what boom bap hip hop does. But somehow, still, this thing is super
Hmm.
inspiring to me. So when
Definitely.
I'm looking into doing, stuff with modular, I'm looking into sound design, and I'm looking into, how can I bring, that swing in there, because that's
Mm,
and that's why, when we were talking about sequencers this week, it was hard for me. But
right.
then finally landed on the one that I was gonna wanted to get anyways. And it's because of that though. It's because you can change the swing of it. You know what I mean? Like that's a
Oh,
big
really?
why,
Really?
yeah.
So the O coast, or wait, zero control. I'm sorry, zero
Yeah.
control or O control. I don't know how you say it, but
Oh
either
yeah.
way, does it have swing?
So the way it is okay. Like on
So,
most,
so for people out there that don't know, okay, Marshall has been trying to figure out what sequencer he wants in Eurorack. So he does not have a sequencer at all. So, there's so many options out there, right?
yeah.
So he did end up going with the or O control or zero control. So go ahead. So
Yeah.
the swing aspect.
So the swing aspect. So typically when you have a sequencer, and it's not even just in modular, there's sequencers and all kinds of different things, drum machines and synthesizers. And, there's 8 steps or 16 steps. Sometimes there's more. And it goes on a dit, 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 like a metronome,
Right.
like,
Sure. Yep.
and so I wanted to get kind of away from that. So the Zero Coast does that, but at every single step there's a dial, and you can change the time of that exact step.
Dope.
And then there's also another row where there's the
Well,
strength of it. So you can change like the like how hard it hits or whatever.
right.
So you can literally manipulate each step in a way that gives it that swing.
Dope. Okay. Well, hats off to you for choosing that. You know what I mean? So, but I will say, I know I have a buddy. He moved his O Coast into his rack. So there are, I don't know if you've seen them, but there are like conversion kits that you can convert. I don't know if it works for the O control, but for the O Coast, he was able to move his O Coast into his rack. So if that's something you want to do, it's probably out there. Just
Yeah, I agree. I think I have seen people do that.
Yo, my man Sean. What up, Sean?
That's your buddy?
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Cool. So I think he makes a good point, though. That's that's the thing is, like, actually you and I were talking about this the other day, is you can actually introduce swing, because that's a big thing, especially anybody who is like boom bap. And then anybody who's ever listened to Dilla, like the big thing, it's a huge trend. Like that, this is like what you do in hip hop now. It didn't used to be such a big deal, but since Dilla, swing is huge.
And to touch on that real quick, I think drummers, like a drummer that has feel has swing, and I think just playing straight 16th notes doesn't have as much feel as someone that can really express themselves within that bar, and that's where I think that comes from. It's not so much Dilla or it's just the expressiveness of a drummer. Like, man, I've listened to drummers that just play straight drumming, and it's cool. But then when you get a drummer that can express themselves, and swing and just do all this crazy stuff within that bar, man, it just has so much more feel. So anyway.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just because of Dilla. There was swing in hip hop before Dilla, but I feel like he is the one who somehow he did it really well. And I think because of that, everybody wanted to do that as well,
Right. I think we should do an episode on Dilla. Like not so like traditional, but just like really talk about like all that, and even how it relates to modular and modern hip hop. So
he's the producer that all the hip hop producers kind of look up to. There's a reason for it.
Absolutely. So, I know. People that play live instruments that look up to him, that don't even make electronic music, they look up to this guy. So
totally. I think Questlove even said, he's like, after I heard Dilla, I started playing my drums differently. Like,
man, that's crazy.
So man, it's crazy. So Sean says that Maleko Gate. I don't know what Maleko Gate is, but he said the delay. Well, yeah, maybe you can explain it because you know
Well,
more about it.
the Maleco gate delay is a
Mhm.
module.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and Maleco makes some sick stuff. So basically, I bet the gate delay just gives you mad control over where you place your gates. So a gate is a trigger, and it triggers a drum or a synth or an envelope or whatever. Um, yeah, I haven't. I don't know much about the Maleco gate delay, but I have messed with gate delays before,
Yeah.
and I totally understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
to that point, I was thinking that that's when we were talking about swing earlier this week is like you actually can introduce swing in a lot of ways. It's not actually it doesn't even have to be the drums. You could have straight drums, but there's certain
yeah,
things you can
the
do with like
melody.
samples, offsetting samples
Yeah,
and stuff like that, where
yeah,
you can introduce that. You can even create side chaining without using any effects if the samples right.
right. And it's funny when we had that conversation the other day about swing coming not just from the drums. Like it
Mhm.
made me start playing my guitar differently. Like
Oh,
that conversation, yeah. Like I try to, well, I tried to specifically play my guitar more like my drums on a recording I did the other day, and it's interesting. You can introduce swing with melody. It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, when it comes down to it, I think, swing does, and I'm not, a music theory scientist or anything, but um, swing does it has to do with rhythm. Like you kind of can't get away from that, but
Right.
even melody is partially rhythm, is you can't even separate melody from rhythm. I think
Very
the
true.
piano is actually technically a rhythm instrument. They categorize it as a rhythm instrument.
Mm.
Obviously guitar is very similar. There's lots of
Yeah.
rhythm in
Yep.
guitar.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 Yep. Yeah. Yeah,
so
man.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Sean was asking, does the zero control have CV over the gate limit or gate time? There is
Yeah, the gate
CV.
time.
So for every step on the zero control, just like on any sequencer, for every step, there is a
Hmm.
CV out for each step individually.
Uh-oh. Sounds like you know what you're talking about there,
I'm
Marshall.
starting to learn. And there's also like a special like dynamic gate CV out. If I'm
Mhm,
understanding it
mhm,
correctly, there's two different
mhm.
ones, and it works best with the zero coast because I guess most modules don't have a dynamic see, I don't really get the terminology there, but they don't have what the zero coast has with the dynamic gate out. It still works. It's just not as like the. I guess the idea with the dynamic gate is like typically a gate, if I'm understanding it right, it turns on and turns off. But with the
Absolutely.
dynamic gate, it has a
Mm.
gradual turning on
Mm.
and off.
Yeah, I don't know much about that. I don't know. So you're saying the O control has that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
But,
So gate time would be, I think what Sean's asking about is gate time would be length, right? So when you hit a synthesizer, right, you play the notes, ding, right? And as long as you're holding down those notes, you get a the
length of
yeah, the length. Yeah, yeah.
it's like
So
you're keeping the sustain going.
exactly. So I think that's kind of what he's asking about, right here
Yeah.
with the gate
You,
time.
I don't know the technical thing that it's doing, but I know that so with the O control, there's all the steps, the 16 steps,
Mm.
and then there's three knobs, just like a mixer. There's three knobs. I mean, all mixers are different, but there's three knobs above every
Step.
step, and
Mm.
there's also a CV out above every step and some other
Okay.
things. But and so the first row is time, and I think that's what he's
So
talking
that's what,
about.
yeah, that's probably what he's talking about. Yep. Yeah.
And then the
So did
second
you,
one is
I'm sorry,
strength.
go ahead. Mhm.
The second one is what they call strength, which
And
is the
that's
same
what,
thing.
yeah, that's what relates to what you were talking about earlier is the dynamic range, right?
Yep, yep.
Yep.
And then the third one is tone. So you actually, so the thing that's interesting, one of the things that's interesting about the zero control is it doesn't have a quantizer, but you
Oh,
almost
okay.
don't need a quantizer
Okay.
because you can change every note tone and
Hmm.
you just kind of do it by ear. And
Hmm.
then it does have a clock, and I don't know if it controls the quantizing of other modules, but it will, like how you change the timing on each note,
Hmm.
that will translate over to another module, and the clock can control another module that way,
Ah, okay. Okay. Okay.
which is really
Dope.
interesting.
Man, did you already order it or no?
Yeah, I don't think it's
No
shipped
way.
yet, but it's coming from California, so it probably will be here
Where'd
later
you
this
where'd
week.
you where'd you where'd you end up ordering it from?
Well, it was Reverb, but I think it was Perfect Circuit, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
So,
gotcha. Gotcha. Cool.
so yeah, Sean says definitely look into the Maleko Gate. I wrote it down, so I'm definitely going to be looking into it. And again, like it's even if it's not Maleko Gate, like I don't know what that specific delay does, but just delay in general is a great way to start
Yeah,
introducing.
introducing swing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Sean's a beast, man. He's a good dude. Thanks for hitting us up, Sean. Thanks for tuning in, man.
Yeah,
Hats off.
absolutely.
Hats off.
Shout out for sure. You're gonna have to show me where his IG is or something. I'll have to check him out, or if he has something else. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know. So modular is a big part of both of our approaches now, or it's going to be a big part of mine, and it's definitely part of yours.
Yeah.
Um, I guess maybe we could talk a little bit about that, like for you, because I don't think you really got into so much how you, because obviously guitar and music theory has become a huge part of your approach. How do you mix modular in with that to create boom bap?
So modular and boom bap. These days it's pretty crazy. I'm really trying to get that lo-fi vibe, like lo-fi, and it's not just because it's popular. Lo-fi is super popular right now, super popular, and it's not just because it's popular. It's just because that's what I grew up. That's me, like
Yeah,
vinyl, Pete Rock, all that stuff. That's lo-fi. You know what I mean? Like sample-based music is lo-fi. So um, I'm trying to do my best to make stuff sound lo-fi and just dirty and gritty and as lo-fi as possible. So whatever I do, whether it's guitar or something on the modular, I want it to sound gritty and dirty and like it came from a vinyl record, not just to be popular, but that's because that's where I come from.
yeah.
you know
Well,
so
it's what
so
you
yeah.
like. It's what you
Yeah,
like, and that.
and yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and
It
so
pleases the ear to me. Yeah.
totally, totally. And that's like we were talking about influences last time, again, like you were like, I remember you were telling me, because I was saying like, oh, this producer and that producer is like, Premiere and probably like Tribe and stuff like that. And then you're like, okay, so that's your like
Mhm.
main influence. I'm like, wait a minute. RZA. RZA is huge. And that's that
Yeah.
grittiness. Like that
Right.
definitely changed my whole thing of what I want to hear when I make beats, and it's that
Yeah.
grittiness, that grindiness,
Yeah. 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 And so that's pretty much where I'm at right now with modular. When it comes to modular, like I don't want really anything that sounds super clean or super pristine. I'm not into like super clean stuff. I just want it to sound organic, natural, um, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I
So
guess.
so when I hear your beats, I get, you know, it always it always sounds like musical candy to me. Like just like there's like a sweetness to the sound. There's like a real like richness to the sounds
I
that
remember,
you
I remember
tune
that. I remember the other day you said, it sounds like somebody was like banging pots and pans with my,
with the drums. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
You do that all the
yeah,
time,
yeah,
man. It does.
yeah. That's part of my drumming.
It's awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
It sounds like there's like shoes and cans like in a dryer like hanging
Yeah,
around.
people. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's that texture, there's a cool like texture to it and stuff. So, I'm curious like with the modular, like because I think you tend to start, if I'm not, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you tend to start your beats with I've come up with a cool like guitar loop.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah.
then you
Absolutely.
put the modular in after. Like, how do you match that? With the guitar and stuff.
Well, if I'm gonna do something on modular, I'd probably start with modular and then move to the guitar.
Oh.
Um, yeah. So, but all my music pretty much starts with melody first.
Hmm.
I know it's a huge thing on the internet. Like, what do you start with? Do you start with drums or do you start with melody? I'm a 99% melody guy. I start with
Yeah.
melody. So if I do something on the modular, do something on the modular back there. How do I do this? Okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah. Do something on the modular, or if it's just even a soft synth or hardware synth, I start with melody and then I move to drums after all that. So really, what I'll do is I'll lay down a basic melody and then I'll add drums and then I'll probably go back and do bass lines and stuff like that, additional melody stuff, and then do it like kind of like that.
So it sounds like have you ever tried to start somewhere else and then bring in the modular? Because that's also possible, but it's a different
It is possible, but yeah, I'd never done that. I haven't done that. I haven't done that. Usually, like if I'm doing modular, I'll start modular.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how it would be, because it depends too on what you do with modular. Like if you're using a keyboard controller with your modular or some kind of, touch controller, then I feel like that's when you can add modular in. But if you're using it without that, I feel like it would be really difficult. And I can see how you'd find something in modular that you like and then play the guitar over it. That makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Modular is a funny thing, man. It's so expressive. Like you can do so much with that thing. It's just crazy,
Yeah.
But maybe I should give that a little bit of maybe change up my workflow.
Maybe, but if you like how you're doing it, stick with it. I
I
think
me's
you
there's
come.
nothing, but there's nothing wrong with like throwing yourself, just out of the box, doing
Yeah,
something out of the box. Yeah. So.
like trying to make a whole beat with a kick.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Maybe
When
that'll
are you
be
gonna
my
do that?
yeah.
When are you gonna
I
do
know.
that? By the way.
Well, I think I got to
You-
get some of my modular stuff more set up before I can really do it. But or maybe I'll
Okay.
just do it all with Koala. Who knows?
Mm. Okay.
So, I mean, that's another aspect is like the approach of, using, because some people don't are trying to go kind of like DAW-less, and we both kind of use both, DAWs and iPad apps, how
Right.
much has that influenced your work?
The DAW really doesn't get in my way at all. Like it doesn't. It's really like a blank canvas for me. So it doesn't like get in the way at all. Like so the And to be truthful, the modular is connected to the DAW. So everything that I do in the DAW, like, is pretty much, I can, it translates over to the modular. So DAW, modular, DAWless, all that stuff. I prefer to work in Ableton. It's my it just feels so natural for me. Like it feels like anything I need to do, I can do in Ableton. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. For me, we've talked about it, but it's become a little bit of a challenge sometimes using DAWs.
Yeah.
Even though I kind of come from DAWs, but I
Mhm.
feel like technology, computers, iPads, that stuff sometimes makes things difficult for me because certain things sometimes don't want to work, or trying to connect things so that they work within it are hard. And but I've been one thing, again with the kind of going back to the modular is the generative stuff is really interesting to me and exciting. And so modular is a really cool way to just generate like a just a canvas of sounds, and then I can pick from that and do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That makes sense.
there's
Yeah.
other generative processes like that that have been really inspiring to me, and randomization too within that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think when it comes to well, let me ask you this. Are you doing melody first or drums first, typically?
Um, well, I am doing sound first. It's
Okay.
not, it's almost never drums, but when I think of sound, I don't really think about melody that much. At first, melody is kind of secondary in my process.
Wow. Wow.
And it's actually a little bit tough because I approach it like sampling, because I what before I would sample stuff from vinyl records, and sometimes there would be a strong melody, sometimes it would just be more sounds. But the difficult thing was, okay, now I need a bass line, and it's
Mm,
like,
mm,
well, I don't know how to play an instrument like really play. I
mm.
understand some music theory, and I know how to find some notes, but I can easily get stuck to where I'm like, I don't know what goes with this.
Right.
And with samples, it can be hard because you change the pitch and things, and you change different stuff to make it sound different. And then you're like, I don't even know if notes exist that go with this now, because it's been kind of modified, so it can be difficult, to add
Yeah.
bass onto a sample or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you on that for sure. For sure. For sure, man.
Cool. All right. Well, we've been going for a while here, and we've talked about a lot of approaches and stuff. I think it's been a pretty cool conversation for sure. I guess let's just see, let everybody know again, where they can find you, and I'll do the same, man.
So pretty much I'm 100% full throttle on IG. That's where you can find me.
Awesome.
Upright, UPR1GHT.
Cool.
UPR1 instead of an I right here, instead of UPRIGHT, UPR1. Put the number one there, and that's where I'm at on IG. Hit me up. Hit me up.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll try to change that next time so that it shows our actual like thing, what
Yeah,
our
both.
name is on Instagram.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that'd be
And
cool.
same thing here. IG is the main place. If
Yeah.
you follow my comic stuff, I'm in a few other places too, but really for music, IG is the place to be for me. And so it's at Marsh Makes, and you can find me there, man. And there are links in the description as well for both of those.
Word, word. All right,
Cool.
that's Beat Brothers. That's Beat Brothers podcast number 2. in the books, done
Yes.
and sealed. We coming at you. We coming at you. Hope, peace, and dope beats every time.
Yeah.
Marsh,
Yeah.
any closing words, my man?
Yeah, actually, closing words would be whatever your approach is, it's the right approach. You
Dang,
know,
yes, love it, love it. Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no judgment, I don't think. Like there shouldn't be. And if anybody tries to give you flack for the way you want to do your beats, like too bad. Like do it the way you want to do it, and I feel like it'll work, you know.
There it is. There it is, man. Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching us live. Thank you for everybody watching on the replay. You know, please subscribe and let us know your thoughts on all this in the comments. And other than that, man, we're gonna keep coming at you with videos. So look out for them. We'll be seeing
Yep,
you.
there it is.
All right.
See you
Peace out.
guys. Peace. Peace.